Hello and welcome to another Zenphi tutorial. As you can tell by the title of today's video, we're going to be going over what is a collection, what actions does Zenphi have to be able to work with collections, and how can I make use of these. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's start by explaining what is a collection. So it's very common that we're going to have to work with multiple items at a time. For example, multiple rows on a Google Sheet, maybe multiple users that are in a Google group, or maybe multiple attachments in an email. So there's certain actions that Zenphi has to be able to work with singular items. However, when we want to work with a group of items or a collection, we have to make use of specific actions, which I will get to in a second. Using these actions are going to help us save time and also be able to loop through each one of these items to be able to make up our flow in an easier way. So without further ado, let's start with the first action. This one is called a for each loop. As the name implies, this is going to loop through each one of the items in the collection, and you're going to be able to add different actions inside of that loop. This is going to loop through each one of the items one at a time. So until the process is done for one item, it's going to go on to the next. So to be able to set up this action, you have to select the for each loop action, and here you have to select a collection which it's going to be looping through. If you click on the token picker, you're going to be able to open up the different tokens. And if you see a square bracket, that means it is a collection. So in this case, we would be looping through the different users that are suspended. And that way we can have a loop for each one of the members. Going back to this page here, if we open up the users, we'd be able to have all of this information for each one of the members. So it'd be their individual information, their specific email, their job title, etc. The for each loop is going to have a dotted line around it. So whatever is inside of that dotted line is going to be repeating for each one of the items that you selected for your collection. And until each one of the steps is finished, it's going to move on to the next one. However, what happens when we wanted to be able to do all of the different tasks for all of the items at the same time? This is where we would use a different action. This one is called parallel for each, and what it's going to do is run the process for all of the items at the same time. And as incredible as this may sound, it does come with a couple of cons. Not all applications, for example Google Sheets, handle parallelism very well, so I only suggest to use it when it's completely crucial. For example, if you have actions that depend on a different action to be able to get the result, for example, a calculation, or maybe you have a task and you need the response, here you wouldn't be able to do the parallel for each since one action depends on another action. They would need to be completely individual actions here. So whenever possible, I recommend just sticking to a regular for each loop instead of a parallel for each loop. However, there are ways to be able to make for each loops more efficient so that you don't have to wait for the whole process to be finished. And there's going to be a video linked down in the description in case you want to learn how. It consists of basically connecting one flow to another using an HTTP call. This is going to allow your flow to be a lot more seamless without having to wait for the different people to respond or having to run through the whole process before going on to the next one. It'll simply call a flow multiple times. So again, that link is going to be in the description. Now, the last action that Zenphi has to be able to work with collections is an action called query collection. This is a very powerful action when you're able to know exactly what functionalities it brings. What this action allows you to do is to filter data, you can group data, or you can select certain data from a collection. So all you have to do is select your collection. In this case, we have chosen suspended activity events. So if we click on the token picker, once again, you can find the collection using the square brackets. And here you have the option to be able to filter. So if you only want to extract certain items from an existing collection, you can do that by enable filtering and adding different clauses. So here we have filtered depending on the date. If it was before a certain time, then please return those results from the same collection that we were working with previously. You can also group by. You're able to add clauses here as well. So if you want to group by, for example, the actor, the name, you can group by a certain person. So this allows you to be able to group small collections depending on certain parameters. You can even add different clauses, different groups, so you don't only have to use one, you can use multiple. And lastly, you're able to select items. So here you can choose which set of items you want to filter. You can either select to return all of the items, a range of items, the last item, or a certain index if you know what position the item is in. And that would be everything. As you can see, working with collections can be very simple once you get the hang of it. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments section, and make sure to check out the rest of our YouTube gallery, where you will find different tutorials using different actions, triggers, and of course collections. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure to check that out, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.